So there's a lot of you on the coast that might be noticing that your tax bill is a little bit higher than it used to be last year. Now, look, I've talked a lot about that, about some of the changes in the tax law that have especially hit people in the coast, New York, LA, etc. And I've also talked about some of the reaction from Trump supporters, being shocked to find out that they might actually have to pay a little bit more to the government, or that they've received a smaller return thanks to some of the changes in the tax law. Now, there are a few taxpayers that actually have saved money. I mean, some of the middle class got a small tax cut, and especially people in the Midwest, right? Midwest, Pennsylvania, some of the poorer states, some of the red states, the ones that are down the coast, they actually are saving a little bit of money, right? However, the biggest winners of this tax cut are big corporations. Now they are Amazon, GM, Netflix, etc., right? In fact, the big corporations, they've gotten such a big tax cut that not only did they not pay taxes in 2018, but some of them are due massive refunds. So I want to get to the numbers here, which are maddening. According to Axios, these companies will receive refunds from the federal government, in some cases to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, I want to break down and list these companies. GM, for example. Now, GM has made the news lately because they plan on laying off tens of thousands of workers, right? They're claiming a $104 million refund from the federal government on $11.8 billion in profit for the year 2018. So they're getting a $104 million refund from the federal government, from the taxpayer, right? And they are laying off over 10,000, I think it was around 14,000 workers. There are a lot in the United States, and then there's some up in Canada that they're also laying off. And they're actually ending some of their, car lines. Well, wait a minute. I thought the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was supposed to create jobs or save jobs. Oops. Apparently not. There's more. Goodyear. They're seeking a $15 million refund on $693 million in profit. Okay. Now, Halliburton's actually paying in. They'll pay $19 million in income taxes on $1.6 billion in profit. So they actually have an incredibly low tax rate, even though they are paying in and not getting a refund. Netflix is getting a $22.1 million refund on $845 million in profit. I think that's ludicrous, especially since they ended up canceling the Marvel series. Punisher? Come on, dude. You're going to cancel the Punisher? What is wrong with you? Daredevil? What is wrong with you? Those are excellent series. You had to cancel them. You don't deserve that $22.1 million. I'm especially pissed off about that, if I can say that. All right, more. U.S. Steel claims a $303 million refund on $957 million in profit. And finally, the biggest one, Amazon. Amazon is seeking a $129 million refund on $11.2 billion in profit. This would be Amazon's second year in a row, consecutive, of owing no taxes. In 2017, Amazon filed for a $137 million refund on $5.6 billion in profit. Look at the difference, right? Look at the difference. It is staggering. Absolutely staggering. Now, I want to go here to Matthew Gardner, who is someone who works for the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. And he had a quote about this. He says, quote, Amazon is not a passive player in tax law. Amazon in particular has shaped tax law in its own image. They made the laws by lobbying so persistently and effectively. And so, look, that's an explanation of how they were able to do it. They basically bought politicians and said, we want lower taxes, And the politicians are like, yes, sir. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pass. And this, the irony about this, by the way, is that Amazon, headed up obviously by Jeff Bezos, right? Donald Trump hates Bezos. But Donald Trump's tax law helped Bezos get even richer. So this is the effect of money in politics. You bribe politicians, and guess what? It turns out that these companies that bribe politicians get massive amounts in savings in taxes every year. And not only that, it's not just corporations, it's people that are wealthy. In fact, members of the top 0.1% are going to save, what is it, $190,000 a year. Jeez. Now, how do they do that? Well, or I should say, how did that happen? Or how did they save so much? Well, the corporate tax rate is 21%, right? So they lowered it to 21%. Now they did say, "Oh, don't worry, we're gonna make sure that they still pay the same, but we're gonna lower the rate but eliminate the loopholes." Because the loopholes, I mean, they were already paying 21% anyway, and that's actually true. When you look at their effective tax rate, it's actually far lower than the previous 35%. So they lowered it to 21, but they kept the loopholes. And in fact, some of the loopholes they may have eliminated, which I don't even know, one. In fact, they asked members of the Trump administration, what loopholes are you closing for the rich? They couldn't answer it because they didn't plan on doing closing up any loopholes. Why? Because, of course, these corporations want to pay an even lower rate than 21%. So that's the scam. That's the scam. They say it's going to happen, but it never happens. Now, one particular windfall for the companies, cited by the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, is a provision that is brand new, allowing for the immediate expensing of capital investments. Not only that, but there's also something in there that allows you to deduct your private jets. So don't worry, guys. Those of you who are complaining about, having to pay more taxes, you should have just deducted your private jet expenses. Then you would have saved a ton of money on taxes, just like Amazon. Look, these are just some of the numerous loopholes and legal tricks that they use in order to pay lower taxes. And look, more loopholes obviously will continue to be carved out by their armies of lawyers, lots of legal tricks, and of course, the lobbying. There's so much money, millions and millions of dollars, going to lobbyists or going to lobbying these companies to make sure their taxes are low. I mean, look, no company is going to spend millions of dollars in lobbying to pay more or the same. Now, I have another quote here. This is Chester Spatt, who's a finance professor at Carnegie Mellon, Texas. Now, we talked to Axios, and he said, and this guy is a corporate defender, he says, I don't think a company should be paying more taxes than it owes. And in fact, it has an obligation to shareholders not to pay taxes it doesn't owe. But here's the thing. Who decides how much these companies pay or owe in taxes? That would be the politicians that pass tax laws. So it's really easy for you to go and say that, right? Oh, no company's going to pay more than what they owe. Well, who decides what they owe? Well, of course, the politicians that the companies have bribed. Oh, okay. I see how that works. But the thing is, it's actually super unfair to the regular taxpayer. I mean, why should Amazon pay less as a percentage than someone making $50,000 a year or $30,000 a year, which is the median average in America? They shouldn't. They shouldn't. But this is a great example of why the system is rigged. The economy here is rigged in favor of the wealthy. If things were fair, companies would not be getting massive refunds on billions of dollars in profits. That is not something that should happen in an unrigged system. And these companies, they know that. They know it 100%. And so some of them are starting to worry that, like, hey man, look, you guys we're getting all these, tax breaks and everything. We're getting a refund this year. That kind of looks bad because it turns out people are paying attention. And so I want to give you this interesting quote here from Bruce Melman. Now, he is a leading political and corporate lobbyist. Now, he spoke to Axios and he said this. He said, rising global activism is forcing companies to reassess the balance of obligations between shareholders and stakeholders. And when highly profitable companies like Amazon pay zero taxes, it undermines confidence in the broader system. So, in plain speak, this guy's like, dude, this looks really bad. This is a PR nightmare because people are actually starting to pay attention. In fact, there is no, like he spoke about the confidence in the system. There is no confidence in our system anymore. That's why there's, populists like President Trump's fake populist, right? He ran sort of on that economic populism. Then you, of course, have Bernie Sanders. You have AOC. You have a lot of progressives now that are saying, hey, wait a minute, the system is rigged. Maybe we should actually do something about it. Now, I want to give you some of the numbers here to show how much of the American people realize that the system is absolutely rigged. According to a recent Axios SurveyMonkey poll, 70% of Americans think the economic system unfairly helps the rich. 70% of Americans. That includes over 90% of Democrats and nearly a half of all Republicans polled. Even Republicans, 49%, think, yeah, the system is rigged for the rich. And then, of course, you have a really important constituency, 71% of self-described independents. A massive majority of Americans, they know the system is rigged. And the other part of that same poll, that same question, asked, would you vote for a candidate that promises to fix that system? Again, 70% said absolutely. They know the rules are rigged in favor of the ultra wealthy and of corporations. And they're actually very open to voting for somebody who's actually going to do something about it. So that's very significant because now you had Bernie Sanders that just recently entered the race. Bernie Sanders has a consistent record of taking on the wealthy and the powerful, the billionaire class, right? I don't know if I really said that right. Trying to get a Bernie accent in here, and it's a little difficult. I'm used to doing the Trump accent. But Bernie Sanders is somebody who's running on this stuff, who's running on economic populism. And unlike some of the other candidates, we actually know that he means it. So that's really important context looking into today's politics. Now, not only that, 61% of Americans now still have a positive reaction to capitalism, right? 34% have a negative reaction to socialism. However, 34% view capitalism negatively, and 59% see socialism as a positive. Huh. So look at that. I mean, look, the reason is, like, you've got a lot of young people, of course, that are getting involved in politics. That's fantastic. And they know that right now, the American style of capitalism, which is extreme right-wing, laissez-faire capitalism, they know that it's broken. It's not even laissez-faire. It's more crony capitalist, actually. The free market, look, doesn't exist. And corporations have rightly so, been pointed out that they have taken over the government. They have captured the government, our regulatory bodies, and of course, our politicians through legal bribery. And this is why you end up paying more in taxes than Amazon. That's why these companies end up getting refunds while you don't. This is why Walmart gets huge tax breaks and special sweetheart deals while mom and pop shops in that same town go out of business. Everybody knows that the system is fundamentally flawed. And so I do love the reaction from that lobbyist, Mr. Melman, saying, oh, hey, you know what? It turns out this could be kind of a problem for us. Maybe we might want to head that off. Look, if you guys listen to podcasts, check out Pitchfork Economics with Nick Hanauer. He points out all these different problems, and he does it in a much better way than I do, because the guy's actually lived it. He's a venture capitalist. He's rich, and so he's got that perspective that is, hey man, look, I am a rich person. I know the pitchforks are coming for me. So maybe we ought to do something about this and head that off by doing a little bit of redistribution. Because right now, the current system is unsustainable. This is a problem, and we need people, especially people like Hanauer, and I give him great credit for it, pointing it out, addressing it, and actually doing something about it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.